Our MC Fuuma Kotarou. Ever since he was a baby, he was taken by masked ninjas who put him through hellish training. He learned how to kill anyone and everyone without a shred of mercy. From a young age, his master showed him fake kindness. Just to repay that so-called kindness, he turned into a ruthless killing machine. He kept on killing throughout his entire life and in the process ended up with no family, no kids, no wife, nothing. But in the end, even after all that, he was betrayed in his old age. He was killed, accused of betraying his cult, a false accusation. And just like that, he died without ever fulfilling his dream of true freedom. But surprise! The MC is reborn in a new world, one filled with magical beings and demons ruling over the land. Now, in order to survive, he has to fight and kill those demons, all while in the body of a baby. Oh, and yes, he's gotta risk some mommy milkers along the way too. Spoiler alert, this manhwa is going to be wholesome. The manhwa opens with a chilling scene. Several children are hanging upside down, ropes tied to their legs, suspended above roaring flames. The fire rages with intensity, consuming some of them instantly. As the onlookers count the survivors, a voice declares number 6 is done, and they continue keeping track of those still alive. The heat is excruciating. No child should be able to endure it. Amidst the torment, one boy stands out. While the others scream in agony as their flesh burns, he remains completely still. His body doesn't flinch, and his expression is devoid of fear, just a haunting, unblinking calm. When the flames finally die down, only one child is left. That same boy. The spectators murmur among themselves, referring to him as number 9. The scene shifts again. This time, the same boy is shown mercilessly slaughtering other children. Blood splatters everywhere, painting the ground in crimson. Watching from above, a group of individuals comments on his extraordinary skills. One notes that, even at such a young age, he has already mastered the Fuuma ninja arts. Another man, wearing a sinister smile, mutters that the boy is destined to become the next leader. Later, number 9 speaks only to himself. His purpose in life is clear, to kill and to survive. The story transitions to a battlefield known as the Night Battle of Kago, year 1546. The scene is horrific, corpses strewn across the land, the air filled with the stench of blood and burning flesh. This gruesome massacre is the handiwork of number 9. Long ago, there were people in this land who lived hidden in the shadows of history only to meet untimely deaths. From birth, they were recognized as prodigies and were relentlessly trained in the deadly craft of assassination. They were called Kusa or by other names such as Rappa, the Disorderly, or Kamari. 3 children stand in formation. Sitting before them is a man named Hojo Jinan. His tone is cold as he speaks. I expect better results next time. His gaze settles on number 9. The boy's master calls him by another name, the 5th Fuuma Kotarou, before dismissing them. With a sudden gust of wind, the 3 vanish into the shadows. But someone else is watching. A sinister figure warns the old man, don't put too much trust in just 3 children. They're different from other ninjas. Their powers are far beyond the norm, but that doesn't mean they should be trusted blindly. The old man chuckles, his smile unsettling. There's no need to worry. The Fuuma abide by an unbreakable law to serve the Hojo clan. Anyone who breaks this law is sentenced to death. The entire clan is bound by this iron rule, a wretched creatures, yet the most effective tools. Once more, the scene shifts, this time to a different battlefield. A massive army approaches, led by a commander on horseback. Suddenly, a lone child appears in their path. The soldiers freeze. He's just a boy, but something about him is terrifying. Without a word, the child removes his mask and bites down hard. Boom. A massive explosion erupts from his mouth. It's a fire technique so intense that the battlefield is engulfed in flames, soldiers and horses reduced to scorched corpses. Then 2 more children emerge. They unleash a technique that summons countless shadows. The enemy commander watches in disbelief, struggling to comprehend the nightmare unfolding before him. In an instant, one of the children appears behind him and crushes his face with a single hand. The battle ends. 3 children have annihilated an entire army. For Fuuma Kotarou, killing is everything. It's all he's ever known. Years pass. He grows older until he is 80. Captured by the Edo shogunate, he is dragged through the streets, one leg missing. People stare in horror, whispering, he's a monster, a demon. He is Fuuma Kotarou, the legendary ninja. Now he awaits execution. A swordsman stands before him, preparing the final strike. Any last words, he asks. Kotarou replies simply, none. The executioner sneers. Even the great Fuuma Kotarou couldn't escape the odds. The Kusa, Iga, and Koga are still useful after all. Hearing this, Kotarou casts a cold, sideways glance. The executioner falters for a moment under that icy stare. As the blade slowly descends toward his neck, Kotarou's thoughts drift. He had never feared death. But in those final moments, he notices a bird perched on a rooftop. His entire life had been spent chasing something he could never grasp. Bound by the chains of duty since childhood, he now realizes he had always longed to be free like that bird, untouched by command, living as it pleased. Just as his soul begins to slip away, the blade slices through his throat. Everything goes dark. A hand touches his head. A voice speaks, "I choose you." Before him appears a massive door. A fiery hand reaches out from within. A voice, ancient and powerful, echoes, "I see the world through all things. My eyes burn like fire." The face behind the voice remains shrouded in mystery. Then all fades to black. Kotarou gasps awake, struggling for air. His body feels strange. His senses are distorted. Instinctively, he activates his fire ninjutsu and a massive explosion bursts forth. To his shock, he realizes he's inside a dragon's belly. His fire technique had blasted it open. The massive beast crashes to the ground. The dragon dies on the spot. Now, as an infant, Kotarou sits amidst its lifeless remains, looking around in confusion. Before he can make sense of it, goblins appear. Above him, a dragon soars through the sky. A smile forms on the boy's tiny face. He understands. He has been reincarnated in another world. As the protagonist was falling, someone below saw him. A girl. The moment her eyes met Fuuma, she was stunned. How could a mere child tear through a dragon like that? Meanwhile, Fuuma believed he was finally free. He had no more burdens. He could now live in peace. He reflected on the past. 100 years ago, the legendary warrior Arzid and his party, known as the Four Great Heroes, had defeated the Demon Lord and become legends. But now, with the rise of a new Demon Lord, demonic power had surged again. Back to the present, the spot where the dragon fell was near a massive castle. Much of the surface world had already been overrun by demons. As the smoke cleared, a dark figure emerged. It was the Goblin King of this era. With one foot, he pinned the protagonist to the ground, ready to crush him. The Goblin King stared at the fallen dragon, then the child below it, his voice filled with disbelief. How is this possible? A child brought down a dragon. He couldn't comprehend it. Then suddenly he kicked the child aside. But what he didn't realize, this was the greatest mistake of his life. Fuuma didn't get angry. He simply smiled. The Goblin King was baffled. Just then, goblin soldiers rushed in, reporting that the castle had been utterly destroyed due to the dragon's fall. Enraged, the Goblin King turned his wrath toward the child. He raised his weapon and struck with full force. The impact was so immense that even the dragon's hardened hide split open. The surrounding goblins roared with laughter. Ha! That pathetic little brat must be crushed into pulp, yet they saw the protagonist completely unharmed. He had survived the wrath of the Goblin King. Even Fuuma himself was shocked by his own luck. But the Goblin King couldn't believe what he was seeing. A mere child dodged my attack, he thought in disbelief. Meanwhile, Fuuma was deep in thought. This body, it's so hard to move. I'm just a baby, I can barely even walk. Then he activated a technique. His veins bulged, hands trembled. But he managed to stand on his own. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through. In an instant, he grabbed the Goblin King's head and twisted it. The neck snapping like a serpent's body. Then he unleashed his power. Flames burst from within the Goblin King's body. His flesh incinerated instantly. The fire intensified, swallowing everything in its path. The goblins couldn't react in time. They too were engulfed in flames. Their screams echoed through the ruins of the castle. Meanwhile, the girl was approaching, walking across a wooden bridge that led to the sky castle. Her mind raced, replaying everything she had just seen. At last, she reached the castle gates. Her eyes widened in shock. All around her, the ground was strewn with severed goblin limbs. Blood splattered everywhere. Then the scene became clear. The goblin fortress had turned into a graveyard. Corpses, pools of blood, charred remains, scattered like nightmares. The girl stood in disbelief. And then she saw him, a tiny boy, just a baby, standing in the middle of it all. His eyes burned with an unnatural light. But suddenly his body gave out, he collapsed. She rushed toward him, her mind reeling. This little baby did all of this? For the first time, she revealed her face. A girl with emerald green hair and sharp green eyes. One of the four great heroes of this world, High Titania. Now we learn how the protagonist lived, how he came into this world. The scene fades into darkness. In a dimly lit room, we glimpse the faces of his mother and father. But their time was short-lived. A brutal war erupted. The entire village was destroyed in a single day. Every human slaughtered without mercy. Only one baby survived, our protagonist. Hidden in the shadows, unseen figures observed the newborn. Their glowing red eyes pierced the dark. They were ninjas, silent, lethal, and enigmatic. This was the memory the girl had seen when she looked into Fuma's past. Now the scene changes. The girl held the protagonist in her arms, his tiny body resting against hers. His eyes fluttered open. Fuuma blinked, confused. Then his gaze fell on the girl holding him. Who is this girl? Why is she carrying me? She looked down at him, smiling gently. She knelt to the ground and introduced herself. My name is Titania. She explained that she had seen his memories. Fuuma was stunned. What kind of technique did she use to access my memories? She told him she would always remain loyal, that she believed in him no matter what, and would do anything to help him be happy. Fuuma couldn't understand. Why is she helping me? What does she really want? Is she trying to trick me? He narrowed his eyes. If she's deceiving me, I'll kill her without a second thought. But then reality hit him. He couldn't even walk properly. He knew nothing about this world. For now he needed her. So, with a bright smile, he spread his arms wide in acceptance. Titania's eyes softened. Without hesitation, she hugged Fuuma tightly. I'm so happy, she exclaimed. But in her excitement, she accidentally squeezed too hard. Fuma's face smushed into her chest, turning red. Realizing her mistake, she quickly pulled back. I'm so sorry. I just got carried away. Fuuma blinked. Titania smiled warmly. Your smile is so cute. Fuma's cheeks flushed pink. But inside, his mind was far from calm. What kind of person is she? She's not lying. She doesn't have the eyes of a killer. For a brief moment, a strange warmth filled his heart. Then his thoughts snapped back. Memories flooded in. He clenched his fists. I can't trust people so easily. I don't need kindness. Kindness, that's what my master showed me. Before turning me into a dog. Forcing me to obey his every command. If I let my heart waver, I'll never be truly free. With that thought, he fell asleep. Titania looked down at the child in her arms. He must be so tired. After all, he's just a child. As Fuuma slept, his memories unfolded like vivid nightmares. For the first time in a long while, he rested without killing intent. The girl sat on a rock. Fuuma sleeping in her lap. His small body curled against her legs. She gazed at him, whispering softly. Rest well. I am here. You are not alone anymore. It was in this moment that she truly connected with Fuuma. Using her technique, she delved into his memories. Countless words and scattered emotions poured from his body and into her mind. She saw everything. Every life he had taken. Every drop of blood on his hands. The cold, empty bed he used to sleep in. The lifeless corpses he left behind. His own death. And the moment he destroyed the Goblin King. Then came a single, chilling memory. A vision of himself as a blood-smeared child. From the very beginning, he had only ever known one thing. Killing. He never understood why. He had simply been taught to kill. His master had shown him kindness. But that kindness was merely a leash, binding him to endless slaughter. Titania sat beside him as he slept, tears foaming in her eyes. She had seen it all. The blood, the corpses, the haunting faces of the dead. And now she understood. Maybe this was why she had chosen to help him, to give him a new life, to give him peace. She thought of how terrible his life had been. One wrong move could have ended everything. But Fuma's heart was different. No matter the darkness, he never gave up. No matter the loneliness, he still held on to hope. Hope that one day he could be free. She embraced him gently. She realized he had the heart of a true hero. And in this moment, she knew he was the true protagonist of the story. And for the first time, he wasn't alone. She was by his side. But then, a shadow loomed. The girl didn't see it. Her eyes were shut in the embrace. Something sinister crept closer. It was the Goblin King, somehow still alive. He stared at the protagonist with rage, his hand raised to strike. But in that very instant, Fuma's eyes opened wide. He unleashed a powerful technique. The Goblin King's body broke apart into countless fragments, scattering with the wind. The girl, hearing the disturbance, quickly opened her eyes. Confused, she looked behind her but saw nothing. However, something caught her attention. Sky-cleft rock had been sliced clean through and was now crumbling away. This destruction had been caused by Fuma's technique. Before she could fully process what had just occurred, exhaustion washed over her and she drifted back into sleep. Above them, a bizarre creature flew through the sky, its countless eyes glaring down ominously. The moment it locked eyes on the girl, she instantly reacted, swiftly using her magic to slice the creature into pieces. Suddenly, the girl was cloaked in a garment that concealed her presence. Muttering to herself, she said, "That must be the Demon King's doing. Staying here is far too dangerous." She added that the quickest path out of the demon realm was through the Elf King's territory. One thing was certain, this world was ruled by many kings and divided into different domains. With determination, the girl realized she had no choice but to head toward the forest of enormous trees known as the Great Rotwood Forest. The scene shifts. We now see someone secretly observing the girl. The observer is speaking to none other than the Demon King. Reporting in, they say that, according to the 4 great heroes, the fairy king Hyrie Titania has been located. We then see several shadowy figures, their faces hidden. A pair of large, unblinking eyes watch them, perhaps belonging to the Demon King himself. In a deep, commanding voice, the Demon King speaks. Among those seated, one person remarks, "She's still alive after all," while another dismisses the report as pointless. A third individual mentions that she's lost her former strength. The observer continues, using a magic circle to display the protagonist's face, and says what's troubling is the baby she's with. Then, they show how Fuuma defeated the Goblin King, explaining the full sequence of events. The others, watching intently, scoff. "It's just a baby, nothing to worry about," and smile with eerie delight. The Demon King then gives a chilling order. The Fairy King must kidnap the baby and kill the elf. His terrifying visage appears as those seated on his massive fingers confirm the command. The elf must die, and there is no need for concern. In a forest, a quake-like tremor shakes the ground. The girl is seen running, chased by a monster, no, multiple monsters. She clutches the protagonist tightly, trying to escape while referring to the creatures as bugs. Meanwhile, the protagonist is elated, thrilled to see so many different types of beings for the first time. Seeing his excitement, the girl casually warns, "Don't get too excited. We're outnumbered and have no backup." Suddenly, monsters strike from above. With swift and powerful magic, the girl attacks, obliterating them in one devastating blow. Her spell is so forceful that it slices every monster apart. Fuuma, watching in awe, wonders what kind of ninjutsu could produce such a result. He's never witnessed a technique like it. He begins to suspect that the girl possesses some rare ability. However, her expression shifts. Something has unsettled her. Just then, another monster charges toward them. The girl steels herself. She believes she can rely on her strength to overcome anything. Meanwhile, Fuuma is captivated by the new creature, excited to get closer. But before the monster can strike, glowing lights appear in front of the girl, and wings emerge. Fairies arrive, their radiant beauty shining brightly. One fairy steps forward and addresses the girl. "This is our prey. Do you remember why you came here?" The monster, upon seeing the fairies, flees in terror. But the protagonist is puzzled and disappointed. He had wanted to see the monster up close. Coldly, the fairy says, "How dare it set foot in this forest? Its presence has tainted our land." In that moment, the fairy reveals a horrific face, 3 eyes, and a monstrous appearance. The girl thinks to herself, "No matter what I do, escaping from here is going to be extremely difficult." Fuuma, on the other hand, is delighted to see yet another bizarre spectacle. The fairy sneers, "You irritating elfkin, hand over the baby or I'll eat you." Drool drips from her mouth. Suddenly, Fuuma grabs the fairy by the finger. The girl is stunned by his sudden action and warns him, "It's dangerous. Don't do this." But Fuuma just smiles. He's genuinely happy holding the fairy. The girl blushes and, seeing his pure smile, feels warmth in her heart. She's glad Fuuma has momentarily forgotten his loneliness and is enjoying himself. Enraged, the fairy growls, "You little brat," and opens her mouth, launching poisonous needles. The girl shouts for Fuuma to move, warning of the sheer number of toxic projectiles. But Fuuma doesn't hesitate. He catches all the needles with his hands and feet. The fairy is shocked. Not a single needle has touched him. Fuuma returns her glare with a terrifying expression, then hurls the needles back at her. One by one, the fairies drop to the ground, blood pouring from their mouths. One trembling fairy whispers, "This is impossible. Those movements aren't human." Upon hearing this, Fuuma, clearly upset that his mood has been ruined, launches an attack without hesitation. Suddenly, a massive object like a wooden needle flies toward him, but the girl throws herself in the way and saves him. Fuuma is stunned. The girl's injury is serious, a deep wound opens and blood flows as her body trembles from the pain. The fairy laughs cruelly, enjoying the chaos. Then, from the shadows, another figure steps forward, a larger fairy towering over the others. The smaller fairies call her Mama. Her presence is terrifying. Opening her mouth in an eerie manner, she speaks to the girl. I never imagined you'd come here willingly, hire. The girl immediately recognizes her. It's Elva, the fairy princess. Elva demands that Fuuma be handed over. If not, she says she'll take him by force. She then declares that once she completes this mission, she'll be recognized as one of the 10 demons, servants of the Demon King. Hearing this, the girl cries out, that can't be. I'll never become one of them. Without another word, Elva draws a weapon from her mouth and declares she no longer takes orders from the Elfkin. She attacks. The strike causes a massive explosion. While the elf is not severely hurt, the tree behind her is completely destroyed. As the dust clears, we see Elva's weapon dripping with poison. She scoffs, surprised. The girl is still standing, but confident that her next attack will be fatal. The girl, clutching Fuuma tightly, declares with unwavering resolve, I will never hand over Fuuma, no matter what. Fuuma doesn't fully understand why she's so determined to protect him. But before he can dwell on it, Elva attacks once more. This time, her weapon glows brightly as she activates her deadly skill. The Fairy King's Grand Dance sword unleashes such force that the surrounding trees are obliterated. At that moment, Elva's eyes widen in disbelief. Fuuma has stopped her sword with just a single finger. She's in shock. That should have been a lethal strike, yet he stands completely unscathed. Fuuma, on the other hand, finds the situation peculiar. He doesn't quite know why, but something inside him doesn't want the girl to die. The wind pressure from Elva's strike is immense, and yet he remains unaffected. Witnessing this, Elva begins to understand this is why the Demon King is after the boy. He isn't just an ordinary human. Meanwhile, Fuuma is lost in thought. His body is still that of a child, not yet powerful enough. But with the techniques he has mastered, he could still kill Elva. He focuses energy into his fingers and activates a move known as Finger Sever. In a flash, deep cuts begin to slice across Elva's body, even her weapon crumbling to dust. She screams in agony, unable to comprehend what just occurred. When Fuuma ceases his assault, Elva's hands are entirely severed, her body ravaged. She's barely able to remain standing. But suddenly, Fuma's hands start trembling. His young body can't sustain such overwhelming power. At that moment, the elf girl cries out, stop. Don't kill her. Elva glares at her, demanding, what are you planning to do with me? The elf's hope begins to fade as she pleads, I only want to save her life. Fuuma doesn't understand. Elva tried to kill her, and still, the elf wants to protect her? With a sigh, the elf starts to explain. Long ago, the Elfkin and Fairykin lived in harmony within the forest. This land was once called the Forest of the Giant Tree, named for its serene and majestic beauty. The elves, with their wisdom, governed the forest. The fairies, skilled in combat, defended it from outside threats. But in truth, the elves exploited the fairies, less advanced in civilization and intellect. At first, it should have been a peaceful coexistence, a balance of roles, mutual benefit. Yet soon, contempt, resentment, and darkness grew between them. And eventually, war erupted. She was just a child back then, helpless, watching as everything around her collapsed. Fuuma listens intently, reflecting that this world is not unlike his own. And still, despite all that's happened, this girl clings to her beliefs, unwavering. As he ponders this, she suddenly embraces him tightly, weary and emotional. Fuuma struggles to breathe, thinking, you're so big, you're going to crush me, don't hug so hard. Then Elva scoffs and says, what nonsense are you spouting? That's just an old story. But she quickly smirks, laughing loudly. But by now you must be feeling it, right? The poison is beginning to take hold. She refers to the needle wound the elf girl received during their fight. Elva's eyes darken as she prepares to strike, her form transforming into a monstrous figure. Her voice booms with fury. Killing you, princess, will ease the regrets of the fairykin, if only slightly. The elf protests, shouting, this is senseless. Continuing this war will only bring more ruin. Silence. Elva growls. This is my duty. Then, with a chilling calm, she adds, once, during that war, I too was a princess. That we, the surviving heirs, would meet again like this must be fate. But fate or not, I will end you and bring closure to the fairykin. Suddenly, markings on Elva's neck start to glow, a contract seal appearing across her skin. The elf gasps, that's a contract seal. What did you do? Elva grins. This power was granted to me by the demon lord. We're taken back to a memory, Elva and the elf girl as children sitting in a beautiful place discussing why conflict never ends. Humans, demons, beasts, they all share this world. So why did some strive to dominate it? Why couldn't everyone just live in peace? The elf asked, and Elva reassured her, as long as we're together, this forest will remain safe. We'll protect it side by side. The elf smiled brightly. Back in the present, Elva morphs into a terrifying beast, laughing as she declares, "This is the power the demon lord gave me." Her hands enlarge as she prepares to strike Titania down. But Titania, seeing the seal glow, realizes something. If Elva bears the seal, then she's just a pawn to the Demon King. As Elva slams her massive fist down, an explosion follows, but when the dust clears, Titania stands unharmed. A radiant light shines from her, and her wings unfurl. Elva's fury deepens. She stares in disbelief at Titania's energy, it's immense. Then she notices Titania's pendant cracking. It had been suppressing her power all this time. Now that it's broken, her full strength is released. Elva doesn't comprehend, she assumes Titania had always possessed this power. Titania then casts a healing spell, recovering instantly. Fuuma, watching all this, is bewildered. Suddenly, his body feels light and an overwhelming fatigue sets in. Elva is stunned, Titania's strength is beyond anything she imagined. Then Titania raises a finger, points at Elva, and softly says, "I will save you." A magic spell activates. Elva's monstrous form vanishes, mysterious markings spreading across her body. The demon lord's control is shattered. "You're no longer bound," Titania says gently. "We are friends. And friends do not harm each other." Elva's eyes widen. Memories of their youth come rushing back, their vow to stay friends no matter what. Tears stream down her cheeks. But suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. The Demon King has dispatched someone. A sinister laugh fills the air. Fuuma looks on as Elva, now returned to her normal self, appears entirely different from her monstrous state. He reaches out to her, hand extended. Elva hesitates, then slowly raises her own to meet his. But before their hands can touch, a violent force descends from above, slamming into Elva. The ground cracks under the impact. Fuuma is stunned, it happened in a blink. A wicked voice mocks, "To receive the demon lord's blessing and end up like this, how pitiful." A woman steps forward, a cruel grin on her face. She plants her foot on Elva's broken body, pressing down hard. Blood spills from Elva's mouth as she cries out in pain. The woman laughs with delight. Her name is Juma, one of the 10 demon lords. One of the 10 demons stood triumphantly atop Ella's body, laughter erupting from her. The twisted joy on her face showed just how much delight she took in watching her opponent writhe in agony. For her, this moment was pure bliss. Hyri's power began to surge, her anger intensifying at the scene before her. Kotarou stood frozen, his eyes wide in shock over what had just happened. Apru, still smirking, made a comment on Ella's condition, noting that the body transformation caused by the contract seal was going haywire, something she believed someone like Elva clearly couldn't handle. Fueled by rage, Hyri pulled even more power into herself. Without hesitation, she activated a transfer spell, instantly teleporting both Kotarou and Elva to her side. Wasting no time, Hyri unleashed another powerful incantation, the Karmic Inferno Annihilation spell. A colossal blast of energy erupted from her hand, tearing through the surroundings in a devastating explosion. As the dust began to settle, Hyri hovered in the air, panting from the immense energy she had just released. Elva remained unconscious, floating beside her, while Kotarou drifted nearby, his expression twisted with anger. Despite the overwhelming blast, the dust cleared to reveal Apru still standing in the exact same spot, untouched. She coughed slightly, brushing some dirt off herself, and then complained about the sudden attack and the mess it had left on her. Hyri's eyes narrowed, realizing that even her most powerful fire spell had done nothing. She commented on the full-body enhancement granted by the contract seal, expressing disbelief that her strongest magic had failed. Apru's grin widened as she declared that now she was truly angry. With a sudden burst of energy, she launched herself toward Hyri at incredible speed. Hyri reacted quickly, casting a barrier creation spell that raised boulders from the ground, encasing herself and the others in a protective shell. But Apru was undeterred. As she approached the barrier, she declared it useless, her voice echoing with confidence. She then executed the exploding demon fist, her attack shattering the stone barrier completely. As the last of the debris crumbled around them, Apru stood there with a wild smile, victorious even against protective magic. Hyri stood firm, already preparing another attack against Apru. She unleashed the ancient spell, freezing sacred stigmata, and streams of energy surged from her fingertips, striking Apru directly. But as the light faded, April remained unfazed. She let out a playful exclamation, remarking on how close the attack had come and recognizing the spell as the ancient magic known as freezing sacred stigmata, proof of Hyri's status as the strongest among the Elfkin, known as the Great Sage. Then, with a mocking smirk, she corrected herself, former Great Sage. Hyri dropped to her knees, her body trembling, completely drained from the relentless magic she had used. She stared down at her hands, shocked by the emptiness within. Her voice trembled with disbelief as she realized her magic was fully depleted. April looked down at her with disappointment. The thrill of combat had faded from her expression as she scoffed at how little strength remained in the once great mage. She mused aloud whether Hyri's true power had been sealed within a magic stone and had only returned temporarily. Whatever the case, it no longer mattered. She told Hyri to just die. But before finishing her off, April leaned forward with a smirk and said she would share something interesting, something she had also once told the Fairy King. A flashback appeared, showing Elva kneeling before the 10 demons. April stood in front of her, speaking directly to her. She asked if Elva was really okay with how things were, the regret of her comrades, the humiliation. She spoke of the wonderfully furious emotion hidden deep inside her and questioned whether she was going to live her life suppressing it. She told Elva to be angry, to let her anger out, saying that dark emotion was fitting for a demonkin. April claimed the demon lord would be pleased and that with her power, the power of the Frakin, a warrior race, it would be enough. Back in the present, April laughed hysterically. She said she had only been kidding, calling Elva as dumb as a bug. She mocked the Fairykin, saying they were numerous and worked well as pawns, easy to use. Then she pointed out that Hyri, as an Elfkin, would know that very well. Hyri shouted back at her in anger, trembling, saying she had toyed with her best friend. April looked at her expression and said she was making such a great face that she was definitely worth killing. Kotarou, still floating in the air, grew angry as he listened to April's words. April stood over Hyri, a twisted grin on her face as she relished the frustration etched into her opponent's expression. With a burst of manic energy, she declared her intention to send Hyri to her grave. Hyri, barely able to contain her rage, spat out her fury, cursing April as a demonkin. Unfazed, April relished the moment, eager to hear Hyri's final scream. She began gathering power, preparing to unleash a devastating attack. As she launched her signature move, Exploding Demon Fist, a sudden figure shot between them. Kotarou intervened in a blur of motion, intercepting the barrage of attacks. He caught April's fist mid-strike and stood firm between her and Hyri. April's eyes widened in disbelief, stunned that he had managed to halt her assault. The air changed as Kotarou fixed a menacing glare on her. A wave of danger rolled off him, making April instinctively shriek. Without hesitation, Kotarou activated a technique, ninjutsu, redirection. As the energy from April's attack was returned, her body was ripped apart, obliterated into scattered chunks. Redirection, a fundamental ninja taijutsu technique, temporarily stores received force within the body before releasing it. Hyri watched in awe, whispering in amazement at what she had just witnessed. Internally, Kotarou reflected on his nature. Killing had always been everything to him. Killing others, killing his enemies, eliminating all emotion. He had believed himself to be nothing more than a heartless ninja. But now something felt different. He hadn't wanted to lose that girl. A strange, unfamiliar feeling stirred within him, sympathy, affection, compassion, sadness, grief. Were these signs that he too still possessed a human heart? Tears slipped down his face as he questioned it all. On the ground, April's mangled body twitched, barely moving. She struggled to comprehend what had just happened, muttering in disbelief that the technique had bypassed even the protection granted by the Demon Lord's contract seal. Hyri realized the truth: Kotarou's ninjutsu wasn't from this world. It pierced through even the most powerful enhancements, including the contract seal's full body protection. Though broken, April chuckled and cast a full stamina recovery spell. Her body rapidly healed and returned to form. With twisted joy, she proclaimed her affection for Kotarou, reveling in the darkness behind his eyes, the eyes of someone who had killed. Countless times, someone who bore loneliness, despair, and hatred was recognized by her as a kindred spirit. Broken by suffering, she insisted he belonged with the Demon King. She invited him to join them and rule the world together. Kotarou froze for a moment, her words lingering in his mind. The strong rule the weak, he thought. This world is no different from the era I lived in. Rule, huh? He stuck his tongue out mockingly in response. April burst into laughter, amused by his defiance, but then her expression darkened. Her body began to transform, growing into a massive and muscular form. She promised to drag him back by force and declared her intent to half-kill him. As energy surged around her, Hairi looked on in shock. The sheer intensity of Aru's power was overwhelming. This was the full might of one of the 10 demons. Aru gathered all her strength and prepared to strike, unleashing her full power exploding demon fist. Just before attacking, she vowed to make Kotarou submit through sheer force alone, convinced that eventually he would join the demon kin. Hairi panicked, believing that even Kotarou's powerful ninjutsu had limits. She feared this attack would be too much and screamed for him to run. Kotarou, however, raised his hand calmly and blocked the incoming strike. The ground beneath him shattered, but he held his ground. Aru was left stunned by his resilience. In response, Kotarou once again invoked ninjutsu redirection, turning the force of Aru's own power against her. The resulting blast completely destroyed her body, leaving Hairi in utter shock. As the dust settled, Kotarou stood firm and declared, with quiet defiance, that he hated those who sought to dominate. After finishing off Aru, Kotarou stood for a moment longer. His eyelids grew heavy and his body began to sway, exhausted from the battle. Hairi quickly rushed to his side, embracing him tightly. She thanked him for saving them and urged him to rest. Slowly, Kotarou closed his eyes and drifted off to sleep in her arms. Nearby, Elva lay on the ground, chuckling weakly as she watched. She marveled at the strength of the human baby who had just obliterated one of the 10 demons with a single blow. Hairi's eyes widened in surprise at seeing her alive, and she immediately moved to heal her. But Elva stopped her, saying it was no use. Elva explained that she had lived too long, and now that the power of the contract seal was gone, her body would only decay. It was inevitable. She lamented that the fairykin had overreached, trying to grasp more than they deserved, and that they could never defeat the elfkin in anything. She urged Hairi to continue, as her journey had only just begun. The pursuers would come soon. The demonkin would stop at nothing to seize the baby. With her last strength, Elva reached out and released a burst of magical energy toward Hairi, calling it a parting gift. Hairi looked down to find herself wearing a new pair of winged shoes, S-rank equipment known as the fairy boots. They would triple her speed, allow slight levitation, and make her harder to detect by enemies. She was astonished at how light her body suddenly felt. Elva instructed her, if she had nowhere else to go, she should head far east of the forest, beyond the Warlord Mountains, to a place called Hydrat. It was the only land left in the world not yet consumed by the demonic realm, the last stronghold resisting the demonkin. There, powerful individuals from across the globe were gathering. With the boy at her side, she might just... Elva's voice trailed off as her body began to wither away. Hairi forced a smile and gently corrected her, saying Kotarou wasn't just a companion, he was her equal, her friend, a fellow party member. Just like the elfkin and fairykin once were. She promised to make their shared dream a reality, a peaceful world where no one dominated others. Elva's fading body stirred with memories of their childhood. A faint smile crossed her lips before she completely vanished. Her parting words drifted in the air as her remains disappeared. She would be looking forward to it. Hairi stood still, tears rolling down her cheeks, and quietly wished Elva to rest in peace. The scene shifted. On the ground lay Aru's severed eye. In a sudden burst of energy, her entire body regenerated. Panic and disbelief flooded her face. She couldn't believe she had survived and then realized it was thanks to the Demon Lord's contract seal. Shocked and unsettled, she tried to process how Kotarou had deflected her full-powered demonic fist technique. She knew now he wasn't normal. Then, a voice echoed in her mind, the Demon Lord's voice. He expressed his disappointment in her. Aru gasped and stammered in fear, desperately addressing him. He reminded her how he had picked her up when she was on the brink of death after the annihilation of her clan by the human kin. How he had granted her power. As the contract seal around her neck tightened, choking her, he mocked her origins, calling the Ogin a weak and lowly species. Aru begged him to wait. She reminded him of the torment she had inflicted on others and vowed to continue living up to his expectations. But her pleas were in vain. Her eyes rolled back as she collapsed, her body shriveling as the life drained from her. From a tree beside her, a dark figure emerged. A low, sinister chuckle escaped his lips as he declared that he would take all the credit. This was Ezra, another of the 10 demons. We now switch scenes again. Hairi was dashing through the forest. As she burst into a clearing, she came to a stop at the edge of a cliff, breathing heavily. She spoke between ragged breaths, relieved that they had made it. Kotarou slowly opened his eyes. Hairi informed him that they had reached the Warlord Mountains. She explained that this was the place where the Demon Lord and the Heroes Party had once fought. Even now, the battle against the Demonkin raged on, day and night. She told him the only place in the world not yet influenced by the Demonkin was the royal capital Hydrat, lying beyond those mountains. Her thoughts turned inward. She believed Maria must still be fighting. She turned to Kotarou again, telling him that the people of Hydrat were desperately hoping for strong individuals like him. We now cut to a battlefield. Warriors from Hydrat were locked in combat with demons. One demon grumbled that no matter how many humans they killed, more just kept coming. A warrior shouted back defiantly as he charged forward. Nearby, a priest was using her magic to heal another wounded warrior. The injured man strained to speak, urging everyone to hold on a little longer, hoping reinforcements would soon arrive. Suddenly, a group of demons advanced toward the priest. They shouted their intent to kill her and put an end to the healing. They rushed toward her, weapons drawn, ready to strike. But before they could even reach her, all the demons were cut down in an instant. The priest watched in astonishment, her gaze falling upon a woman standing over the fallen demons, wielding two massive swords. Her presence was overwhelming. One of the warriors cried out, both shocked and relieved, recognizing her and exclaiming that they were saved. It was Miria. This woman was one of the four great heroes, Miria Barbados. She glared at the demons with visible disgust and voiced her hatred for their stench, saying she couldn't bear the smell of demon kin. She swore to kill every last one of them. The demons stood frozen in terror. One of them recognized her and cried out, calling her the war god. Without a moment's hesitation, Miria charged forward, slicing through the demons like they were nothing. Now, we cut back to Hairi. She was dashing across the land, and as she moved forward, she passed the area where Miria had been fighting the demons. Suddenly, Miria came to a stop, sensing something in the air. She questioned the strong scent of blood, noting how thick and overwhelming it was, unlike anything she had ever smelled before. It felt as though it clung to her very soul. Overcome by the heavy scent of blood, she cried out, vowing to kill and ensure no demonkin would escape. She then rushed off in pursuit of Hairi. When she finally caught up, Hairi smiled and softly said her name. Miria halted her attack, recognizing her, and called out Hairi's name in surprise. Elsewhere on the battlefield, Azrias appeared. He spoke aloud, acknowledging that they had indeed fled to the Warlord Mountains. He referred to it as his ideal battlefield. Speaking of Kotarou, he warned not to underestimate him. Then, with a chilling laugh, he declared that he would seize this opportunity to slaughter them all. Hairi, upon seeing her friend Miria after a long time, says, "It's been a while, Miria, since we met. How are you?" Miria, shocked to see her friend after so long, asks Hairi, "Why are you here?" And upon noticing Hairi holding our MC so affectionately, she exclaims, "A human baby?" As she says this, Kotarou hops onto her head and starts pulling on Miria's ear. To be honest, it looks like Kotarou is really enjoying himself. His facial expression makes it seem like he's milking a cow or something. I hope you get what I mean. Back to the story. As Kotarou pulls her ear, she screams loudly, "You! What the hell are you doing? That tickles. And when did this guy even get up here?" Blushing, she says, "What the heck is this? Why is he on my head?" With that, she grabs the MC and slams him hard onto the floor, yelling, "You damn brat! I'll freaking kill you." Seeing this, Hairi screams, "Wait, Kei Kotarou-sama." Just as she says that, the ground suddenly begins to shake violently, and everyone is puzzled, until skeletons start rising from the earth. Everyone is shocked and begins to panic, while on the other hand, the demon Azura begins laughing. Suddenly, the scene shifts to the battlefield where Azura says, "This place is a battleground where war has been raging for hundreds of years. As a result, there are tens of thousands of corpses I can easily control from here." He then casts a necromancy spell called the Tens of Thousands Evil Brute. As the spell takes effect, a massive attack unfolds. Watching from a distance, the demon Azura laughs, "Kick kick key. It's so satisfying, so comical. I'll control these foolish human kin who've died here and use them to kill each other. using members of the same race. Now we return to the battle, where a large number of skeletons begin attacking them. Miria, our MC's new mommy, immediately gets down to business and starts slashing through the skeletons, muttering to herself, "These guys just keep coming. Why do you keep doing such infuriating things? You damn piece of shit. Unhappy, unhealthy, useless, stupid son of a bai. You demon kin." That line sounds like a lot, doesn't it? But no, it's not actually her saying all that. It's just me venting a bit. She only said, "You demon kin." Then, in a burst of anger, she slashes with her dual fang sword, creating quite a spectacle. When the smoke clears, she sees another swarm of skeletons charging toward them. Hyori exclaims, "There's just no end to them." Even though Miria is attacking them relentlessly, it makes no difference. She then says, "There must be a demon kin somewhere who's controlling these guys." As she says this, she lets out a moan, because Kotarou has pressed his face to her tail. Shocked, she yells, "You? Why are you on my tail?" Meanwhile, the MC is enjoying himself, murmuring, "So fluffy." Miria smacks him again. "You damn brat. I'm seriously gonna freaking kill you this time." At that moment, Azura casts another spell. He drops a few drops of blood, transforming his hand into a giant slashing blade, and attacks the MC's group from behind. He says, "My bones are special." "Yeah, we know that, but it's a pity they're only 3 inches. Anyway, he explains that these bones have hardened over hundreds of years and can pierce anything. "So die." Sensing it, Miria says, "This scent, so you've finally shown yourself. You fight in such an irritating way, you chicken, kick kick key." Azura responds, "What are you getting angry about now? Didn't you know? You're all just toys to us demonkin. It's been fun watching you humans kill each other." He also mentions that if the Demon Lord had wanted to, he could have destroyed Hydrate in a single night. He continues attacking as he speaks and, clearly delighted, says, "How amusing. Delightful. So amazing." On the other side, Miria continues slashing hard with her swords, but suddenly her sword breaks in two. She's shocked. "What? How did my sword break?" At that moment, Kotarou pulls off a Walmart version of Naruto's ninjutsu move. Using 1000% of her brain, Miria guesses correctly. That's right. It's definitely this kid. This scent, it's not coming from Hyori. It's far more intense. She looks at Azura, who says, "I'm innocent as a newborn child. Don't look at me." Then there's that smell of blood clinging to the soul itself. It's coming from this kid. He's the one controlling all these corpses. And what a mundane technique. At this point, I just want to say, good guess, Miss Miria. You get 100 out of 10. The scene then shifts again to Fuuma, who is using his 12 forbidden arts, summoning from the underworld. Now, the scene takes us back to Fuma's background story, the tale of ninjutsu that transcends ordinary techniques. It also mentions many sides and clans such as Iga, Koga, Seiki, Mochizuki, and Nagoro. But none of these ninja clans could reach the hidden realm. However, by wandering the border between life and death countless times, some were able to communicate with the dead. These kinds of techniques, these ninjas were able to master them through insane training. This is one of the reasons they were feared like monsters. Fuma's ninjutsu is said to be as vast as the spirits of the dead. The scene then returns to the present, where Fuuma is trying to enchant his ninjutsu while Azura is launching an attack. Miria and Hyori are shocked by Fuma's boldness. Suddenly, Fuuma opens his eye and says, "Sleeping souls of the land," while simultaneously letting a few drops of blood fall from his hand. He declares, "By my blood oath, return from the underworld." When the blood finally hits the ground, we see that Fuuma has used one of the 12 forbidden arts, the summoning from the underworld. A huge red column erupts from the ground, and from it emerges a terrifying, shadowy, or rather, dark, entity. Seeing this from a distance, Azura is confused at first. But when the entity comes fully into view, he nearly wets his diaper, or pants, whichever he prefers to wear. Anyway, the entity releases a red or dark mist or liquid. Seeing this, Miria and Hyori are stunned. This magical power. What is that, man? Miria mutters to herself. Yes, we're wondering the same thing. Stop wasting time and tell us already. Back to the story, we now see a guy with green hair and earrings standing on the ground under a clear night sky. And I'm sure you didn't notice he has 2 horns. Please thank me in the comments for helping your eyes catch that. As Azura gets more and more confused, he charges at the newcomer. But when he sees that his attack didn't even reach the guy, he gasps in shock and says to himself, "No. You are the Demon Lord Servain. Both Hayari and Miria gasp, mouths wide open. This is where we get the introduction of Demon Lord Servain. We also see that Fuuma is somehow controlling him with a gesture of his hand. Azura, shocked again, like he's been slapped by a monkey, exclaims, "You're the previous Demon Lord?" Miria, also in disbelief, cries out, "What the hell is going on?" That's the previous Demon Lord, the one we somehow defeated 100 years ago. He was dead, Sealbuyer's lad. So why is he here? Suddenly we see the Demon Lord bow before Fuuma and ask, "What shall I do now?" Fuuma continues staring at him with those big eyes of his. Miria, flabbergasted, speaks up, "What are you doing?" Hayari, equally surprised, says, This too is Kotaro-sama's ninjutsu? The former Demon Lord is obeying Kotaro-sama." Azura, waking from his short daze, growls, "This is impossible. What is this? Just look at the nepotism. If you guys do something, it's normal. But when he pulls off stuff like this, it's called impossible. Whatever." Just as Azura finishes ranting, he shouts, "He resurrected the Demon Lord and made him obedient. No. This brat. I'll kill him right here." He then roars, "I'm Azura, one of the 10 demons. I'll kill you and the former Demon Lord too." He lunges with his bone claws and grabs the Demon Lord while also planning to strike from above using another hand. But to his shock, the Demon Lord catches his second hand using just one finger. The Demon Lord calmly says, "This is just annoying." And with just one flick of his hand, he breaks the bones that were grabbing him. The flick is so powerful, Azura is blasted into nothingness, gone. After finishing his first task, the Demon Lord turns to his master and asks, "What do you want me to do next?" Hearing that, Fuuma smiles and starts clapping his hands in joy.